The date is January 26, 1945, in Holtzwihr, France. A German soldier from the 2nd Mountain Division watched, stunned, as medics brought in the wounded. His unit, 250 men strong with 6 tanks, had just attacked a lone American lieutenant standing on a burning tank destroyer. That American had only 1 machine gun. Within an hour, the German force was reduced to just 70 effective soldiers. The survivors could speak of nothing but the weapon that had stopped them cold. The devastating weapon was the Browning M 2.50 caliber heavy machine gun. This was no secret wonder weapon, but a simple American gun first produced in 1933. Yet, it became the most feared piece of equipment in the American arsenal, not because of complexity, but because of its brutal, relentless effectiveness. The German survivors had just witnessed one of the most legendary engagements in American military history. First Lieutenant Audie Murphy, wounded and alone, had climbed aboard a burning M10 tank destroyer and used its turret-mounted .50 caliber to disintegrate an entire German company, supported by armor. His Medal of Honor citation confirmed he inflicted approximately 50 casualties. German medical personnel quickly became grimly familiar with the wounds caused by the .50 caliber. Unlike rifle rounds that might allow recovery, the massive kinetic energy of a .50 caliber projectile caused catastrophic tissue damage. A hit to a limb often resulted in amputation, and a hit to the torso was almost invariably fatal. German field hospitals learned to recognize .50 caliber casualties by the nature of their wounds. Beyond the physical wounds, German units suffered psychological casualties and a breakdown of unit cohesion at high rates when under sustained .50 caliber fire. The deep rhythmic thunder of the M2 Browning, firing between 450 and 575 rounds per minute, was a sound of terror. The realization that the next burst couldn't be survived by taking cover, that luck, not skill, determined survival, created a sense of helplessness that was medically and militarily significant. The German forces were facing a profound truth about American military doctrine. The United States had built the most reliable, most ubiquitous, and most psychologically devastating crew-served weapon in history. The transformation from skepticism to terror began 3 years earlier in the skies over Germany. On September 6, 1943, 388 Team B-17 Flying Fortresses approached Stuttgart. Luftwaffe pilots, confident in their superior 20mm cannons, executed a standard attack. But then, the bombers erupted with fire, muzzle flashes from 13 Browning M2 machine guns on each B-17. A typical 36 bomber formation meant 468 heavy machine guns. The combined defensive fire exceeded 6,000 rounds per minute, creating a wall of steel no fighter could safely penetrate. German fighters felt their aircraft shudder as .50 caliber rounds tore into wings and engine cowlings. They were encountering not just a weapon, but a philosophy of warfare. Bomber defense solved not by technological sophistication, but by overwhelming volume of fire. The American .50 caliber, weighing 707 grains and traveling at 2,900 feet per second, didn't need to explode like a German cannon shell. It simply punched holes in everything it touched: wings, engines, fuel tanks, and pilots. An ace with 93 victories, Oberleutnant Heinrich Wurmhela described it to his family. To attack the Americans is to fly through a storm of steel. The Americans had overlapping fields of fire, and there was no safe approach. But the real horror was the M2's reliability. While German cannons were prone to jamming in the cold, high-altitude air, the Browning M2 simply worked. It fired continuously, even when barrels glowed red, and American crews could replace an overheated barrel in minutes. We called the American bomber formations Die Fliegenden Festungen, the Flying Fortresses, recalled Lieutenant Wolfgang Fischer, a J-88 pilot. But what made them true fortresses was Those 50 caliber machine guns that never stopped firing, never jammed, never gave us an opening. It was like flying into a meat grinder. The ground war told the same story. Oberst Hans von Luch, a panzer commander in Normandy, was one of the first to discover that American doctrine placed the .50 caliber machine gun on virtually every combat vehicle. Jeeps, trucks, half-tracks, tanks, and even supply vehicles all carried the M2. The Americans had achieved universal heavy machine gun coverage across their entire force structure. Von Luch quickly learned the truth. The Americans did not need superior tactics. They had enough ammunition to make mistakes and still win. Any attempt by German forces to maneuver in daylight drew immediate and overwhelming fire. The American doctrine of reconnaissance by fire was particularly unnerving. Instead of cautiously advancing, American units would fire their .50 calibers continuously into any suspicious location: tree lines, farm buildings, stone walls. This constant volume either suppressed hidden German positions or provoked return fire that revealed their locations. German infantry veterans of the Eastern Front, who thought they had seen the worst of industrial warfare, faced a new reality in France. They told interrogators, "Against the Russians, we faced human wave attacks and artillery barrages. Against the Americans, we faced machine gun fire that never stopped. They fired to make us keep our heads down. They fired to prevent us from moving. Movement meant death." The M16 multiple gun motor carriage, a half-track mounting 4.50 caliber machine guns in a powered turret, exemplified this philosophy. With a combined rate of fire approaching 2,200 rounds per minute, American soldiers nicknamed it the meat chopper. In the air, the P-47 Thunderbolt fighter delivered another level of terror. Each carried 8 Browning M2s in its wings, capable of delivering 4,400 rounds per minute during a strafing run. A flight of 4 P-47s meant 32.50 caliber machine guns converging on a target. Survivors described the effect as a horizontal rainstorm of metal that left nothing intact. Stone walls crumbled, trees were cut down, and metal tore like paper. The 50 caliber fire from the air, combined with ground-mounted M2s, created a comprehensive suppression effect. German units could not move safely in daylight due to strafing, and they couldn't move safely at night because ground forces used reconnaissance by fire with vehicle-mounted .50 calibers. In urban combat, the .50 caliber rounds could penetrate multiple walls of typical European construction, destroying the cover that masonry normally provided. Commanders learned to use their turret-mounted .50 calibers to traverse building facades, firing continuously to force German defenders to take cover and allowing infantry to advance. This shattered the psychological comfort of shelter. Night combat introduced the chilling terror of the .50 caliber tracers. American ammunition used a ratio of 1 tracer round to every 4 ball rounds. German soldiers saw glowing streaks of light arcing toward them, visually tracking death. They knew that for every tracer, 4 invisible rounds were flying along the same path. At night, you can see them shooting even when they cannot see you. One captured German squad leader stated, "The traces show you where death is coming from, and you cannot escape it. You cannot survive that volume of fire by skill or courage. You survive by luck alone." The ultimate reason for the German hatred was simple. The .50 caliber represented the overwhelming industrial might of the United States. German forces had brought a craftsman's approach to a mass production war. The M2 Browning was not the most sophisticated weapon, but it was the most effective because it combined reliability, ubiquity, and overwhelming logistical support. It was a weapon produced by the millions and supplied with billions of rounds of ammunition, making resistance mathematically futile. The lesson was universal and unforgiving. The side that can sustain higher material expenditure will prevail.